Is it on? Okay. All right, so I'm not going to worry about the video. I'll just tell you what the video is about, okay? Because it's off of TikTok, and somebody sent it to me in email, and I was like, okay, I'll download this and show it to everybody. But I'm going to try to do this in 30 minutes, 35 minutes, so that we can have some time to talk amongst each other as well, just to share some ideas and some different things that we do at our own companies to make sure that we hire the right cultural fit. So everybody, everybody has been talking about it today, the shortage of workforce and all that kind of stuff. And in honor of my son Jackson, I took the Star Wars and made this the Talent Wars. So who is Rebels and who is Imperial? I don't know. I kind of like the Rebellion side, but we are in a talent war, and all the critical parts of your company and of your organization, it requires people. So without that, there's not much that we can do to advance, not much we can do to progress, and achieve the mission that we set out to do. So, with the talent wars being present day, we've never experienced anything like this before. The candidates, it is their world. The world is their oyster. They get to pick. They have all the cards. They get to pick where they go to work. I tell all of them, I'm like, listen, hey, I'm looking for a job. Really? You drove here, right? And you didn't see anything on the way. But basically, I'm telling them, like, throw a rock outside their front door, and you'll find an opportunity. But I'm telling them right now is the best time to be very specific as far as what they are looking to do. Be very purposeful, with intent and all that kind of stuff. But is that good for us? Not really, because not only are the people that are currently not working fighting over, just deciding which one's best, who's offering the best benefits, which one has the best culture, but we're also fighting that internally as well, as everyone has alluded to, the Great Resignation or the Great Quit. Basically, the term came from, I want to say it was a college professor who first coined that phrase, and basically he looked at some DOL reports and BLS reports that said that 2/3 of the people that left their employment decided to leave on their own. So that number alone is way higher than it's ever been before. So we're in a very different predicament. But when it comes to hiring for culture, I'm probably telling this speech in the worst time in history, because I'm telling you to be more selective. Yeah, right. So right now, these days, we're desperate. Some of us are desperate. Some of my clients are desperate. They're like, I just need somebody to fill the seat. I'll show them and teach them anything you want me to show them. Just get somebody that can show up and come back the next day. And then we'll just take it from there, And so these are mistakes that you need to write down for later when the market kind of gets somewhat normal. But nonetheless, I am telling you this in the worst time to tell you this, but to be more selective. Because I believe that there's 3 mistakes that we make as business owners, as entrepreneurs, when it comes to hiring, and these are those. The first mistake is you hire to solve a problem. You don't really hire the people for the people characteristics or the people beliefs or their values that we've talked about today. You hire to fix a problem. Oh, I need someone with accounts receivables. We shall find someone with accounts receivables. 3 of them come in, you're like, you're the best skilled. You come and join us without putting a second thought. Has anybody hired that way before? I know I have. Yeah, and a lot of my clients do it too, because it's just out of necessity. You're trying to fix a problem, but that's not what you're doing. You're adding and taking away from your culture every hire you make. The second mistake is you hire who you like and you may not need. So these most likely come in the form of referrals, right? Because that's everyone's number one source for employment, right? When you're looking to hire somebody, you ask for referrals. It's 47% of statistics are made up on the spot, but I'd say 65% of new hire candidates come from referrals, okay? So you just take that as you want it. But you hire who you like, but you don't need that person in your team. That person's going to be a detractor and not someone that adds to the team, right? Or even gels at all. So that's the second mistake. And the third mistake, and don't be mad at me, but there's a good chance that you just suck at hiring. And there's good reasons behind this, okay? So I'm not saying that you suck just because you suck at hiring, but the first one is you're really good at sales. Most people who get to the point of management or HR, even HR and CEOs and entrepreneurs who start their own company, most likely you're good at sales. And who are the easiest people to sell to? Salespeople. We buy in. We're early adopters. So that is something good about you, and it's gotten you to where you are today. but it makes you suck as an interviewer because you're like, man, I'm sold, and these guys are decoys. They basically become a professional interviewee, basically, okay? The second reason you suck is you're an entrepreneur. Sometimes, if you are in your own business or maybe a consulting or a manager of your own department, the reason you got there is because you are an entrepreneur at heart. And what is the fault of all entrepreneurs? We see the hope and the best in everything. So when you see somebody sitting across from you in an interview, you're like, I can fix that person. I see hope. I think we can make this work, and this is how I think we can do it. It's going to cost money. It's going to cost me time. But being an entrepreneur, sometimes that is helping you not do a very good job of selecting the best candidate, okay? And the third reason is you hate the process, because most of the time, I think it was on the slide today, it was recommended to do at least 3 interviews. Yeah, that's probably average, but there's some that go for a lot more interviews than that. But you hate the process. I hate the process of posting online, calling Robert, going to the DOL, holding a job fair, going to the college, talking to the career services. You got anybody new? That process sucks, and it does, but you hate the process so much that you're looking for ways to shortcut. And anybody work in a larger organization where there's an HR department that has a process in place, and you have to follow the HR process, but then you find ways to skirt it or maybe cut it down by a couple months. So that process is in there for a reason, but we hate it, so we want to go around it and make it shorter. So that's maybe some of the reasons you suck at hiring. I have also done all those things, but the one thing I want you to hear, if you hear anything I say today, is that you cannot shape people that are currently in your company. Okay, this goes against everything we just said, right? Now, you can do your part to make it a better culture, but you can't force culture on employees. It doesn't work that way. So, truly, the only place to make the difference is at the hiring table. So the personality of the people in your business dictates the culture. Whoever you bring in, they are now part of the culture. And I love the way this is right here. Recruit the right people who have the right attributes that you're looking for to be the expression of your organization. Whatever personality you hire, that is what your culture will become. So whatever characteristics they have, whatever personal values they have, those will be the things that come up and bubble up and become the culture. Now, you can do all these things that the collaborative way talked about, all that kind of stuff, but if you're hiring the wrong person that doesn't fit within the values and the attributes that you need to keep the culture where you want it, maybe you got it where you want it, to keep it there, but also if you need to change it, the things that we're going to talk about today, you can use it not only in the hiring process to select the right people, but you can also use it in a performance review, personality kind of review of who you got working for you now. And sometimes you need to learn, whether or not to hire somebody, but also maybe you need to learn how to manage them out of your company. So basically do it in a nice way and all that kind of stuff. So basically the way you do this, and I know everybody's tired of hearing all this crap, but it is true. You've got to have your vision clear. You got to have your mission and your core values and the organizational chart. Now this is for like succession and giving people a hope of where they can go with the company. So like for example, I have something in my company where you are different levels of recruiters. Some people are full desk recruiters. That means you talk to clients, customers, as well as candidates. You manage the negotiation. You do everything. But sometimes you're just a recruiter where you are simply bringing people into the house. You don't talk to clients that much, right? So I've had to break this down to give people a hope. So this is not really part of this, but these 3 right here, as far as culture goes, you've got to have those defined. If you don't have a lens to look through in order to determine if someone's a good fit or not. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, a lot of head shaking. Good deal. All right, so these 3 right here, this is the main thing that we're going to focus on for the culture discussion. Now you see the top right there, right? You need to recruit with a compelling vision. There was something that Patrick Reynolds said this morning that I loved, that he puts some things at the bottom of his job descriptions that compels people to apply. And they say, I just felt compelled to apply. I'm not really sure if this job is for me, but I felt compelled. What was it on the job description? If you're not including the vision and the mission and the core values to give people a chance to see what the culture is like at your company, when you list the jobs, I think you're missing something. So definitely add those in. the responsibility should be the smallest part of your job description. See where I'm going there? So you're starting to already, from the very first point of your interaction in the application funnel, you're attracting them based on your values, based on your mission, what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't have it clearly written down, well, you got some more work to do. But the top 3 values identified, and then maybe the top dozen, I'd say the top 10 to 12 attributes that a person would have that makes them a good fit for what you're trying to accomplish and the way that you're trying to accomplish it with the values. All right? So this is, I've got this on paper for you, somewhere around here. So I'll share that with you. And then the next pieces here is I'm going to basically talk about creating a hiring funnel. Now, how do you select the right people? This is what you got to do, okay? So you start a funnel. It starts very big at the top, right? All the people that could potentially be workers and employees at your company. You want to create that funnel as wide as possible to capture as many people. Duh, right? Okay, but good luck today. We were just talking about a job fair that was expecting 5,000 people and only 100 showed up. A job fair down here in IBEW, they did one for all the unions, Postal Service, several federal, 6 people showed up. But you're going to want to create your funnel. Now, what I've already told you, let's check your listening, right? What is the number one source for good candidates? Yeah, referrals. Internal referrals, friends referrals. If Gordon knows somebody that would be good at my company, it's like, hey, I met so-and-so the other day, and I think they'd be a great recruiter. They got the potential. They've actually got a little bit of experience in HR. What do you think? Oh, man, thanks. I'll take a look at them. I'm going to meet her. So referrals are the number one thing. If you don't have a pipeline of referrals, that's the number one source for most companies is internal referrals and also external referrals through your own network. And everybody knows, here and eternity. It all comes down to who you know, right? So, all right, so creating a funnel. So you got your job boards, you got your career page on the website. Do you have your career page to include the values and the mission to turn away those that maybe not be a fit? It does sound like we're going to be selective and we're trying to push people out that don't belong, but that's kind of the point, right? We don't want to think about that today. Like I told you, it's the worst time in history for me to tell you this. But so some obvious steps, right? So, career website, job posting site, application, phone interview, in-person interview, offer. Those are kind of like the bare bones, right? But what I want to do is try to focus on a funnel that basically costs you the less, it doesn't cost you a lot of money, but also it costs you the less time. Because, the big expense in interviewing and hiring is mostly the people's time that you put in front of them at the interview table, okay? And so what I want to do is I want you to think in a way to make the funnel to where you can get a qualified applicant up to the point of the interview. And that's what I've got handouts for today. So am I at that point yet? Not yet. Okay, so one point is assessments. Who has assessments before they bring somebody in? Okay, good. Yeah? Got some heads? Okay. So maybe do you consistently use it for the positions that you've designed those assessments to be a part of? Okay. So it's not always a skill assessment, as you can see. Sometimes it is a personality assessment. Who's heard of McQuaig? And what is it? What's the one with the H? But there's all kinds of different things. I use McQuaig all the time. But basically, there are some assessments that you can do to see if they're going to be a fit before you even meet with them. Does that save you money? A little bit, yeah, because it saves you your time and to get someone, and it also saves the candidate's time too. Because there is something called reputation management that you're going to have to take care of. Because even though you don't hire somebody, that person walks away with a feeling, an experience, right? So you got to protect your reputation. So these are some of the assessments that you can do. Oh, you know what? I put the names in here to help me out. McQuaig, Hogan, Wunderlich, the DISC assessment. Robbie's a big fan of the DISC. But these are things that you can do before you sit down with someone. But it is going to be like it's going to be a reason to drop someone out of consideration, but that's okay because you're trying to get what's best going to be fit for you. Now, personally, what we have done is we've used McQuaig, and it's like a personality, what kind of environment do these people best thrive in kind of thing, right? So what we did back in the late 90s is we took 2 or 3 of our best employees. We let them fill out the McQuaig survey, and then that's like a basis. So we got the owner, plus a great manager, plus a recruiter, and we've been using that ever since, and it's been key in one of our decisions whether or not to bring someone in. But I've got some things from McQuaig. If you get with me before you go, they've got an ebook, a free ebook, basically describing how the assessments can help you make sure that whoever you hire is going to be a cultural fit. And they've got tools to do it. Hogan's a great name. That's an international company. DISC, everybody's heard of it. You've probably participated in it at some point or another. And of course, Wonderlic is good too. It's more for the intelligence and then the personality, I think. But I'm probably sure it's got both. I just never used that for the personality side. But so in that funnel that you've created, just outside of the applications, outside of the interviews, have some other ways to test them to see if they're going to be a good fit for you, okay? All right, I got some handouts. I need some help too, if you don't mind. So these handouts, I've got something that I'm going to show as an example. Thank you. Yeah, sure. And then I got a few of it here. If you guys want to share those around there, just grab one and go. All right, so you see I included that vision thing. So if that's part of your homework, do that first, because that is the lens through which you will make all these decisions on this paperwork here. And do you know in your head how I would say this? It's time to check out the handout. See that little nursery rhyme? Okay. All right, so I've got the company's vision page. If you don't have that, that's your homework. You can go ahead and skip to the second one. Now, this is something that we use. These pages that look alike, the one with the bar on the top, hiring criteria. You see that? Oh, I think they're stapled. They're all stapled together. So those are the hiring criteria that we use before someone even comes into the house. Do you need one too, dear? Okay. Yeah, there's plenty left, I think. All right, so the hiring criteria validation. So basically, these are the things that you need to consider. And it's not all, half of it's cultural, half of it is just common sense on who I should be talking to out of the candidates that have come across. So you can see their current employment status, and it's got you the definition, it's got your rationale as far as why you should be looking for these types of people. So presently employed, who all agrees that the best workers are already working? Yeah, so they're passive job seekers, right? They may be interested. Heck, the best workers, you have to go and pick them. Right, Gordon? Gordon was in retained search. He knows that. So he basically the best people are usually going to be employed, okay? So you have to go out and search them and all that kind of stuff. But if it's not, then maybe they did some temp work through an agency, or maybe there's no breaks in service because they were hustling in between jobs to fill the gap, right? And then self-employed does not qualify, because anybody can say they're self-employed, and you and I both have interviewed people that were like, did you do any business? Who was your customer? I mean, it sounded like you just made this and just kind of sat on it. So we've all done that. So, and these are the reasons down here at the bottom. But do you see, so the green light, yellow light, red light, those are the things that you're going to determine before you even bring them in. So let's say we did the assessment, right? You did some kind of a McQuaig assessment. Hey, great. Company's going to be a good fit for you. Great. So then the next thing you do is you're going to go through these things right here to make sure that this is going to be a great step for them as well as the company long term. And you see there right there, candidates must give 2 weeks notice. We like people who do that because we want the same thing in return, right? So that's a character quality. So that's a green light, right? Yellow light might be something like they're still in college, right? So depending on the position, now for ours, in the example that you're holding, you can see it right there. It's for my industry, right? So you can build a funnel process to knock people out or bring people in based on what your needs are, okay? This is just what works in mine. All right, so verify present employment and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's fun. All right, so the next one, so the first thing is current employment status. That does play a hand in the type of candidate. Compensation. Now, you can see here that this may seem like common sense, but it's not always about learning something new, right? Sometimes it's just about being reminded. Yeah. It does, but that is a quality issue of anybody who's unemployed. Automatically, that's most likely someone that you may need to pass on unless they really wow you.
I mean, if they were employed because of the COVID and everything else that went down with that, and the business that they were working with, they were employed by, went belly up.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you a question. All right, so company went belly up. You're in COVID, right? What's your next step? What would you do? So you just got laid off. what's the first thing you're going to do? Okay. And then what? Again?
With the unemployment and everything that the government was offering, they were getting like what, $900
$900 a week.
They're gonna
Yeah.
ride that all the way out. And I
Yeah,
don't
but do
think
you want
necessarily
people that chose to stay home and ride that out on free money, or would you rather have someone that was hustling and going after a new job after all?
dependent and didn't have daycare situations.
Yeah.
So
Well, listen to the story. I guess we need to listen generously, right? To find out why they're unemployed so long. But usually that's a red flag, because anybody that comes to me today, and you can quote me if you want to. Anybody that comes to me today, it is a red flag if you've been unemployed for any number of months. Okay, unless you're really, you're just being choosy, you're being picky. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be at work right now, unless you're just independently wealthy and you don't have to worry about it. And if that's the case, I hear it, right? You say yes, no? Yeah. All right, so that's why that's a red light. It's because, but these categories don't stand on themselves. Okay, you can be a red light in one and maybe a green in all the others. Okay, so it's just weighing them together. And the good news is that you're most likely not going to let just one person look at these lists that you create to filter out the candidates, right? Most likely you're going to have multiple people involved, at least 2 or 3, because you're going to be biased. We all have it. Okay. It comes built in. Anyway, the next one is compensation. You want to make sure that it is going to be an increase for them. If you're talking to someone that it's going to be a drop in pay to go accept your job, be cautious. Okay. It may feel great, like, oh, this is going to be so good, but that it may not last that long. So this is just being real, right? With compensation. So candidates' home compensation, you can verify it and all that kind of fun stuff. 5 to 20%. Now, it does have a max because you don't want to get someone that is going to, when they accept your job, their compensation is going to jump 30, 40%. You're probably looking at someone that's not really what you're looking for because the compensation seems to be off, right? So that's why we have these in place. And you see the green light, yellow light, red light examples down there. The next thing is education. After that, education of 4-year is preferred. Now, my own personal take on education is it is just a piece of paper. And most people see it as that, and they really do everything they can to get to the point of graduation. They're not doing everything they can to master their subject. They're not doing everything they can to be an expert when they leave. They're really doing just enough to graduate and then walk out. So that's my viewpoint on education. Take it with a grain of salt. That's why there's more than one category, right? So that, for me, does not really play a big deal, but it does when it comes to if this is going to be a customer-facing person. Because through college, you get experience that you may not in the School of Hard Knocks and just working at Chick-fil-A and Subway, that you would have a business acumen about you, just for the fact of going through college. So if that's required in the job, maybe have that on the sheet. Next one is a history of success. We love to tell stories. You want to incorporate stories in your interview. Tell me, this is the behavioral questions, right? Tell me a time when, all that kind of fun stuff. Or actually, as I tell you in just a little bit, don't say tell me, say could you share. But anyway, so you see the green lights and the yellow lights as examples. A green light would be candidate actively involved in the extracurriculars outside of work. So basically, a great question is, what are you doing outside of work to become better at what you do? That's so that's where you start to find out, do they have a passion for the way that they do their work? Are they trying to be better for the sake of the company? Are they trying to be better just because, you can dig in all those kind of questions. So let's see, no campus involved. Okay, history of success, and then promotion. This is also a good one. Our job is to step forward in the candidate's career. We don't want to have anybody step back unless there's a clear reason. But like I said, this is not the only determining factor. You got to take all these into effect. And then, a lateral move is acceptable as long as there's a potential for the increase in compensation. Those are the kind of things. Use caution when considering candidates that are willing to make lateral moves with no change at all for them, whether it be schedule and all that kind of stuff. Okay? All right, so you see there, the next sheet is the summary of pre-screening. Now, this is pre-screening, so you haven't even met the person yet. You're doing it based on the application and their resume, right? So this is spending maybe 5 to 10 minutes to look at the resume, look at the application, find out what they were looking for in your application. You should maybe have the compensation that they're requesting. But if you've got the green to yellow lights, you could say meets criteria. If it's a red light, doesn't meet the criteria. Now, usually we try to get at least 3 of the 5 to be all green, okay? Three of our sections all green before we even sit down with somebody. Because if it's not probably a good use of your time. Now, the interview is where we're going to bring the majority of the culture fit, right? So where you consider your vision, where you consider your values and your mission. And that is when you go into the interview, you're going to ask questions that are based on what your values are. So if your values are integrity, you ask them questions based on integrity. Could you share with me a time when you were asked to do something that you thought was wrong? What was your response and what did you end up doing, right? So if your value is teamwork, you're going to ask the teamwork questions. Can you share with me a time that you had to do a project with several individuals, but it didn't go right? Because that's usually what happens. You want to find out what they're going to do. And so it's predictive behavior, right? So that's what we're trying to find out when we interview them. So those behavioral questions, you have to base them on the values and the attributes that you need to look for in the next, to fit your culture, to keep the culture in the right direction. So you see that next sheet right there, the evaluator, the green, the blue, this sheet right here? This is something that you can look at, and you can build your list of untrainable versus trainable. Now, this is what I said in the interview when I talked to Neil, is that really comes down to soft skills versus hard skills. Now, a lot of the clients that I talk to, they'll call me, and the first 4 things out of their mouth are all soft skills. Say, Robert, I need someone who's going to show up. I need someone who's going to be on time, not cause a lot of drama with the team, and another soft skill, for example. They didn't even mention the first hard skill that they want this person to have, because that's how important they are, right? So if they're that important, you've got to interview with that importance in mind, okay? You're interviewing through the lens of your values, of your culture. So you're matching the values based on what their experience has been, what their behavior is. And so these untrainable things, sales personality. So this is someone that we would be looking for to work potentially a full desk or sort of like a recruiter type thing. Sales personality, you've got to have that in order to succeed. You've got to. You got to have no fear of talking to just about anybody. You got to have no fear of pitching a job or pitching a candidate. If you've got a fear in that, I can't do much with you from that point forward, okay? So this is the thing that I use. So you would basically pick your attributes that match the value and the culture that you want. So emotional intelligence. You've got to be able to talk to somebody and fire them without them, completely hating your guts. So you've got to have that ability. So emotional intelligence is the second most untrainable thing that's critical for me. Integrity, of course, tenacity, competitive spirit. I love competitive spirits. I've got one with me now. Her name's Jessica Ramp, and she is the most competitive person in the whole company. Like, you even whisper the word that you've got more recruiting calls than her. She's like Friday night. She's all night calling people on the phone. She's like, you will not outdo me. So I love that competitive spirit, and that is something that I've got to have for you to be successful in my company. Okay, so you've got to define. So your homework is to define the untrainable traits that you need to look for in the candidates that you interview. Okay, define them. 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Well, I'm almost done, so that's good. All right, and then you've got the trainable critical. So you do need to look at skill at some point in this interview, right? So the skills that I need for someone to be successful are maybe some management experience. Why is that? Because if you've ever managed a team, even if it's 2 people, you have experience most likely hiring, firing, counseling, all that kind of stuff. And that's what we do. We're full-time babysitters most of the time, because I've got to tell people not to do things at work or how to do things, how to approach their boss to ask the right question. So, so that management experience is critical for us. Another one is maybe some previous experience in the field. I'm not really a fan of that. I love taking people that's never done this before, because they're mostly like most of the most successful people that I've worked with did not do this before they came to us. So that's my favorite kind of person. Hiring and training, that'd be great. Goal setting, performance management, accountability to results. Like if they had like a KPI or maybe an OKR that they had responsibility over. That kind of thing, because a lot of what we do is self-driven. I can put you at a desk, you can call as many people as you want, 2, 10, an hour, whatever, right? So I need someone that knows the value of a metric and the value of the results that metric brings. And then you've got your trainable secondary and your untrainable secondary. So the critical values and the attributes that you want to have in your culture, that's the untrainable critical. Like, if they don't have this, it's game over, right? We should not bring this person in because that's what they need to succeed. That's what I need to keep the culture in going in a positive direction than taking away from it, okay? So those values, so trainable versus untrainable, it sounds like a lot of work. It's because it is. It takes a long time. It's almost like, it's almost like creating your vision and your mission and your values. That takes a lot of mind power. But the value that you get from putting this on paper and looking through the lens of who you want to be and does this person fit, it's going to, the return on investment is going to be great. Because I did mention the value. It's very expensive. The last time I did this, I think it cost about $3,500 just to get somebody in front of you to interview, okay? The cost of the test, cost of the website job posting stuff, it's really the labor that it takes to get people through the door, resume review, calling them, setting the drug test up and all that kind of fun stuff. And then, it was about $3,500 the last time I checked, but what is the cost if you have someone that you've hired because you liked them? That's in the tens of thousands, Depending on their salary, it could be $30,000, $40,000 just for you to mess up in the first 90 days. Oh, I'm doing my clicker. There it is. So this is just a template. Now, anything that you like in the world, anything that you see to be successful, you don't copy what they do, right? So you can't just take this and say, hey guys, went to a conference yesterday, and this is the things that we need to skill filter through and filter for our culture. Nah, doesn't work for you, okay? This may have nothing to do with you, but what you do is you look at the systems that they put in place. What systems are in place? What disciplines do they do to be successful, So it's not about copying what you see. It's not just a boiler template. You take it over and you start interviewing based on these attributes, right? You got to take the time to go through and figure out, okay, my culture, my values, my mission, what are some untrainable skills that I have to have in order to be successful in this team? And then start figuring it out. Don't do it alone either, okay? Even if you're the sole owner, get the lower people, because you know what? I'm about to, I think the next one here, any employee is qualified to not only sit in an interview, but also to give their advice and what their opinions are about the person. Why? Because they're part of your culture. So who better to know? My favorite interviews include HR, to keep everybody out of trouble, right? The manager, who you will be reporting to, and then also a coworker. Because that coworker can weigh in and say, look, I can see this being a disaster. Do you know what Sandy's going to do when Amber shows up? So you can bring that kind of thing in too. So, get them involved. So as far as making this list, get as many people as you want to. If it's not just you, your hiring manager, HR, even someone that's like a stellar employee, help them make your list. And then based on that list, you will then go forward and select only the candidates that are a fit for the culture, that are a fit for the skill, the attributes that they bring. And that's what's going to keep you from hiring people that are not going to be a good fit. So here's some other things to keep in mind. Panel interviews, I just told you why. Any employee is qualified not only to sit in, but weigh in on the hiring decision. Don't intimidate the candidate. Let them open up to you. You want them to feel comfortable because, for example, tell me a time when you messed up, right? So that's very demanding. It's very straightforward, right? In other words, hey, could you share a time, make it very comfortable, like they're in control, okay? Let them open up a little bit. So you do things to do that. Ask not only what they did, but how they did it, because you're going to learn about them as a person when you hear the process in which they did the job that they did. What made you the star of the show? What made you the hero for that project? Okay, cool. How did you do that? And then you can start to learn how they think as a person, and then make a decision if that's going to be a fit for you. Ask the behavioral questions that reveal how they handle situations, and then break the script. Don't interview in the office. Interview at a coffee shop. Interview as you walk along Washington Road. Just break the script and getting people out of the box of saying, oh, this is going to be an interview. It's going to be me and a couple other people across the desk. That helps people to open up too. Now, questions, comments. I tried to save some time, but dang it, Declan, he took all my time. But does anybody have any things that's worked for you? Because I want, iron sharpens iron. Do you have anything that's really kept you to where you can hire and make sure that someone's going to be a fit for your culture? Sniff test, yeah. Just let Patrick's wife meet with them for dinner, and she'll see if they're crazy, and then you can go forward or not. Yeah. So, well, anybody have any questions, any comments you want to add? Yes. Yeah. That is so true. Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. And then when you get your list together, your filtering list, take a look at who you got right now and who needs to be managed out.
Very nice.
Or who needs to maybe be developed. I think I added in there.
That's good.
There should be a development plan that's included in here. If not, I've got it.
Jeremy was strong.
Is that it right there? Yeah, this is a development plan. So I have a development plan right here. To basically take those categories, those skills and aptitudes, and compare it to who you have currently employed. And basically, it gives you a chance to either, hey, is this something we can develop in this person? Can I make this person grow up in this area? Or is it someone that we need to just go ahead and start taking out? So, and also, I have some McQuaig stuff from my rep with McQuaig. Now, we get a lot of our behavioral-based questioning from the results of their test. So that's why it's good to do that before the interview. So if you want some information on McQuaig, they have a free ebook on how to use the assessments to make sure that they're a culture fit. And also, I've got my rep's name on there. She'll probably give you some samples and to give it a try. All right, I'm done. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something.
Robert Kelly will be here all night for your questions. Don't worry, won't